Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckle Show, where we take a bite out of the movies. Literally. Just like it kinda appears that you already took out several bites of me, but today we are going the good old-fashioned Indiana Jones route. Well, something the like. And I would like to start with the film Romancing the Stone, starring Michael Douglas, which is often called an Indiana Jones ripoff. But it's not, since actually the script of the film was written 5 years prior, back in 1979.
Okay, cool.
So once again, we have a ripoff that's not actually a ripoff because it was written before. And the funny thing is that the studio executives thought this movie is going to bomb. At the first test screenings, no one apparently liked this film, so that director Robert Zemeckis was preemptively fired from his next directing job for the film Cocoon, but then, after the film turned out, basically to rectify themselves for firing him over this movie, he got offered the chance to direct Back to the Future.
And there you go.
And there you go. But the thing is, what do you think about Romancing the Stone?
Well, the first 30 minutes were a complete waste of time.
Yes.
It's just like...
As were the last 60.
Nothing happened. Yeah. Of course, you gotta have a pet crocodile, because that's Indiana Jones. That's
or Miami Vice. I don't know.
And then... It gives complete madness. There's a lot of swinging on vines, but there's no gravity attached to it. I mean, you're swinging from one end to the other, but then there's a slight extension in this movie. So you reach your destination. It was interesting. I didn't quite get the point of the movie. What was the point of this movie?
That's a good question. It's basically an author of books experiencing an adventure.
This was not an adventure.
No, not really. Well, they were almost cooked, but the funny thing is about the cooking sequence, it was like, how much paper mache can this clay pot look?
It was, trying to wrestle a crocodile really put it to... you crossed the line there. What else?
We can say that the film is basically like Indiana Jones if you take out all the joy, all the excitement, all the coolness of Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
and make it long, boring
the drug lords
dribble.
got involved, classic name Pepe, and then he had, what was this? Lupus skate bridge. I thought that was a brilliant thing in the movie. So there's no bridge to cross the river, but the drug lord has a button, bridge pops up, crosses the river. Superb.
Yeah, I would like to have a button like this.
This was superb. It was, it was cool. I liked it. And then, the best part of the movie was the 1973 Renault 4L. I love that car. That was the best part of the whole movie, was the car. That's it. That's my take on this movie. Let's give me your take and then we move on.
There's one last thing that I want to add, because Danny DeVito is in the film, an actor I really like.
He's a great actor.
And do you know that Danny DeVito and Michael Douglas were actually roommates when they lived in New York City, and after Michael Douglas had success on the streets of San Francisco, the TV show, he moved out of this apartment but continued to pay the rent so that Danny DeVito could live there, and he would then later offer the part of Ralph to DeVito because the two were basically friends, which I really like, which shows that Michael Douglas was an awesome, or is an awesome guy, awesome character. And actually, Michael Douglas didn't want to take the role at first, but then he was won over because he was able to exhibit his rock climbing skills. Because at the age of 16, he was a rock climber. He loved to climb rocks. He did it with his father, Kirk, on the set of Spartacus, or next to the set of Spartacus, which is a very interesting thing. Also, do you know that there was a chance that Sylvester Stallone would appear in the film, but he turned down the role of Jack T. Colton in order to act in Rhinestone, and to quote Sylvester Stallone, "That's a decision I deeply regret."
Oh God.
Speaking of deep regrets...
Then made a second one,
the sequel was a juvenile film.
Yes, let's...
Get it? A juvenile film. Juvenile.
That took a long time.
This is funny. I made a funny. No, let's move over to Quatermain, King Solomon's Mines. And before we start, One of my all-time favorite film facts of all time, hands down the best story I have ever heard. Do you know that Sharon Stone for this film was only hired by mistake?
Really?
Yeah, she wasn't supposed to be hired, but producer Menachem Golan from Canon Films said, I want that Stone woman, because he wanted Kathleen Turner from Romancing the Stone to be the lead female actress, and the casting director then said, oh, the Stone woman, so he means Sharon Stone.
Oh, God.
This is the best fucking story I have ever heard.
It's interesting we're moving on from this to this, because Quatermain was rubbish. It was a cheap version, like, of Indiana Jones, low budget. I mean, the racist jokes were... the spy was terrible. The racist jokes were terrible. It's just like, camel jockey. I'm like, you can't just casually say that, oh, towel-headed creep. You're like, what is going on? And then, it's like, did they run out of jokes? Like, who was the writer to just come out with utter rubbish like this? And you're just like, yeah, what's going on with the tribe? And, like, what... Again... What was going on in the whole... There were just rugs everywhere. Why were there rugs? And quite classic. Kidnap someone, roll him up in a rug and just carry him along. Cool.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the film was made by Canon. And Canon was the production group by Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus. And they made an insane amount of films. They made millions of films with Chuck Norris, with Charles Bronson. They were a low-budget company that made highly successful films in great volumes. And Richard Chamberlain said that he felt conned into doing the film because Menachem Golan promised him basically a high-budget, great Indiana Jones lookalike film, and
that was produced.
And even hired J. Lee Thompson as the director, who directed the brilliant Guns of Navarone, and he also made other Canon films like Death Wish 4 with Charles Bronson, which I actually like, and he had an all-star cast. John Rhys-Davies is in the film, and he was also in Indiana Jones, which is a nice little thing. Even John Rhys-Davies was amazed that Herbert Lom would appear in the film.
Wow.
But he was a very, very famous actor. I remember him dearly from, how do you call it in English? The witch-burning... Mark of the Devil, exactly.
Speaking of which, there was a witch that fell down the well and blew up. That was interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great. Why?
What was the need?
Why was that in there?
Why was that in there? And then they had the nerve to produce the second one, and you're just like, why are you producing this? But they continued and continued and continued, and just like, I couldn't.
Yeah, Chamberlain expected a $100,000 movie and got a $2.50 movie.
For sure.
But what is also interesting is that Chamberlain said Sharon Stone was extremely difficult to work with. Nobody liked her. People didn't even want to speak with her because they hated her that much. And at one point during production, crew members even urinated in the bathtub in her trailer. And it was only when she stepped in her milk bath that she noticed the strong odor. Because Sharon Stone had to take milk baths during production.
No more impressions. This is it. This is it.
This was as terrible as the Quatermain films and the Jewel Nile joke.
Possibly. No, actually, yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Right, that's it. So, thank you very much for watching.
These were bad.
These were bad, all of them.
I would
please like,
rather not watch
subscribe,
them.
and leave a comment below.
Yes.
If you do ever watch all four, let us know which one is the worst one.
Yeah.
It's going to be a process.
It's hard to
a
figure
difficult
that out.
process.
But still, the most important thing is to join us back next Saturday for a brand new episode of the Pork and Knuckles Show. Take care.
Take care.
Ha! I stole that from you this time.